This was an incredible effort. I really want to start by thanking Park and Planning. They have spent a year and a half working on this diligently at the staff level. I think the very kind of layered, complex set of recommendations they've given to us reflect the incredible acumen and the data-driven focus of the staff. At the same time, the vision of the policy that we are adopting, I think, really reflects the mandate from the council and the vision that we have to seek more momentum in our economy, to ensure that we are accurately charging for the impact of development, and at the same time, better aligning that whole policy with our economic development goals and a number of areas where the county has struggled. So I want to thank Chair Anderson and Ms. Wright and Jason Sartori, and there are far too many staff members to name and the other board members, but it was an incredible effort during a difficult year, and I think you gave us one of the most significant steps forward in this policy in decades. I really think this policy is changing more as a result of the recommendations of both committees, and it's a significant revision, symbolically captured by renaming it the Growth and Infrastructure Policy, but the details are where the changes are really add up the most. And of course, I don't know that it's my place necessarily, but I want to thank my colleagues for working their way through this. This is my third one of these. I think the same for Mr. Rice, Ms. Navarro. It's always a treat. And this was in a year where it was even more difficult. And, you know, when we first started with this, there was even some thought about waiving this policy entirely, not even having a subdivision staging policy. That was a conversation that we considered, you know, during this crisis, this pandemic. The county executive had recommended we not make any changes, that we just don't do anything and leave the status quo in place. So there were a lot of competing forces, but we plowed into it. And, you know, we went through a great deal of effort to get to where we are. I think from an overview perspective, there's so much here, and others will comment on it, but lifting the cloud over investment in this county, having a moratorium policy in place in an economy that seeks to be dynamic, that seeks change, that seeks to be in a position of leadership in the region, nationally, globally, to have a moratorium hanging over economic investment in critical sectors of the economy that are necessary for progress it's a fatal problem. And I think we have finally stepped up to do what we know we should have done. I think the county knows it was, anyway, we've done it. How about that? We have corrected that flaw. And it's one that has been noted, you know, from a housing perspective as a symbolically bad policy in terms of confronting our regional housing shortage. But we also know it has an effect in terms of business investment, jobs, commercial development, goes hand in hand with residential development. Housing and jobs go together. And when you want one, but you put up an impediment to the other, you end up in a place that is predictable, which is this county does have a challenge. You know, we were looking at some of the numbers relating to the WMATA bill. From March of 2018 to March of 2019, there was a loss of jobs in Montgomery County. This before the pandemic, a loss of jobs. The Northern Virginia jurisdictions grew. They added jobs. The Maryland jurisdictions did not, generally speaking. So we have to think bigger, and we've been doing that. I really want to thank my colleagues for that. Be bolder and make more aggressive changes. And what we've done through this subdivision staging policy, I think, shaking away that uncertainty from our economic environment, whisking away that cloud, and better aligning our impact taxes, creating a more urbanized model for transportation infrastructure, walking, biking, urbanization, where that's appropriate. All of these things are going to fit together and I think make a really big difference. So I'm very pleased of our work together. I'm proud to have worked with you. Of course, want to just thank my co-chair, colleague through many of the joint committees, Ms. Navarro, Councilmember Friedson. You were on both of those committees, and you put in overtime work on this, and it shows. Last note, as we said last time we met, we still have more work to do. You know, we do have to address the revenue strategy. We need to fund schools, and that's a critical objective of this policy framework. And so, as Mr. Rice said, I thought better than anyone, you know, we've always come through and we always will, and that's not going to change. So we'll be back for that. So thank you to everyone, and thank you again to planning and council staff. Pam, this was your first SSP at the council. You did a marvelous job. Glenn, you know, you did another great job, as you've always done. So thank you to everybody. Councilmember Jawanda, this was your first at Fed. You took this on with more aplomb than I think most new council members do. And you really made an impact, put a lot of good ideas on the table. So thank you for doing that as well. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Councilmember Cass, Council President, just making sure this didn't slip. That was essential. So thank you so much for, you know, everything works back from the deadline, and you kept us on track, and you never considered that we not meet this deadline. So I want to thank you for that.